This is not a joke. This is not a hoax. Certainly I'm staking my reputation on it. If an anonymous individual in a rubber mask could be said to be staking his reputation on anything, I challenge these ufologists to debunk me, discover my identity. If they really believe that the alien interview footage is a hoax, prove it. Show where it was faked. If they believe that the alien in that footage is a puppet, prove it. Find the puppet maker. If they believe that I am a hoaxer, prove it. Discover my real identity. It certainly doesn't matter to me at this point.
Do I fear for my safety? Well, I can tell you this, and this is a snapshot of the film that was smuggled in 1991 out of a facility just south of Area 51. If I am truly in danger, that means that this film and this being is real, and God help me. But if I'm truly in danger and this being is real, that means the extraterrestrial program is also real. And I say, God help us all.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Alien Addict on this fine Sunday. Before I bring my co-host and our guest, Jon Stewart, on, we're going to do the normal thing, whereas I want you to like it, I want you to share it, I want you to subscribe to it, whatever it is you happen to be listening or watching us on. I will remind you that the podcast is also in audio form that comes out on Spotify and iTunes and all the other good stuff. Later on during the week, there's 3 podcasts. One comes out tomorrow, being Monday, one comes out on Wednesday, one comes out Friday, and that is the content that we've done over this weekend. You can also go to our merch store, buy t-shirts, buy all of the t-shirts. It's a collection. We won't be keeping them up for long. We will be swapping some of them out. And I don't want to keep boring you with saying these things. So if you can just make me a millionaire, I will stop telling you. Anyway, David, Oliver, and our guest tonight, Jon Stewart. How are we doing?
Doing good, buddy. Doing good. It's good to have Jon back on the show. We've had you here once before talking about this particular topic. I'm excited to have you back.
You're one of my favorite podcasts I've ever been on, and thank you for having me back. I appreciate it.
Well, I wasn't on the last podcast with you, Jon. I was away.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, that's what made it so good.
Yes. You should have heard the things they said about you, but
I was watching it in hospital. I wasn't in a hospital. A friend of mine was, but yeah, I was watching it in hospital while we was waiting. But yeah, it was very good. Good listen.
So Jon, over it must be about 8 months. About 8 months since you've been on.
Seems like that.
Yeah. What's been going on in your life over the 8 months that we haven't spoke to you for?
Just continuing to doing podcasts and doing still some light follow-up investigation. And I did not, it's like every week with this crazy investigation that something pops out of the woodwork or, some other fact, or we go down another road. Just last week, we got another lie detection expert to start disseminating Victor's 3 interviews, the one in 96, 9 minutes long, the follow-up documentary in 08, and the Art Bell promo radio show in 97, I believe. That was an hour and a half. And he has come up with some startling, just the preliminary, just the first 9 minutes. He is himself even scratching his head like, I don't think this guy is lying or being deceptive. So, other things, I before the last show, I think the number 27 we found out about, which was on the bottom of the film, that was a new explosive revelation. Some of the names leaked out on a podcast. Somebody tried to unredact some of my redactions. So there was a little blowback there. We finally 7 days ago saw the face of Victor, which was unbelievable, which, sure we can talk about today. Proving, which is why I came forward with my $2,500 challenge, which I don't want to sound like a carnival barker, but that it's time we stop the noise that Victor was Bob Dean. I put out a video 3 months ago that shows Bob Dean and Victor in their documentary had different ties totally. I show the response from the director that the interview was not filmed at Bob Dean's house. The ficus tree that's sat next to Victor, that was filmed in the Rocket Studio offices in Beverly Hills. I mean, this is from the director of both, documentaries. We have to stop the noise and start paying attention to the preponderance of evidence even on certain things. And for God's sakes, Victor was not Bob Dean. Victor was not the director. Victor was not Whitley Strieber or Victor Marchetti, and he wasn't Bob Lazar. I have never seen Victor in my life. Well, when I got his full name, I know I have never heard of him, but his face, I've never seen him, never heard of him. Before I got the name, but never saw his face. It was startling. So we need to start. I'm helping people holding all of the UFO skeptics' hand, and we're going to knock down one domino at a time, and we're going to get to the end of this. And I'm still going to let the public make their decision, but I'm going to knock down every domino that we can, whether it proves against it's real or it's against it's fake. I don't care. I care about the project, but the outcome is I want to come as close as I possibly can to find the truth. Now, I don't know why that doesn't dissipate people's hatred or their animosity for some of my investigation and the stories. I don't understand, but I'm trying to. I'm simply trying to find the truth. And we're coming to the point where, because no FX person in 30 years has come forward that he or she created the alien puppet, because nobody else with any credible, solid evidence has come forward in 30 years to say it's a hoax and here's why it's a hoax, I don't have anywhere else to go but to say that all of these stories, all of this journey, all of the government harassment of me, the stealing of my emails, and something is going on. And what I believe is going on with this whole crazy film is that it's possible that it's not fake, that it is a real extraterrestrial. And 4 days ago, somebody else came forward with corroboration that he has seen the film too, but from a different angle with more people in the room. So, and I will talk about that tonight. So again, it's just one thing after another where the needle is moving for proof rather than hoax. And sorry for people that don't like that, but that's just telling you what's happened from a guy that doesn't care either way.
I think that's one of the most interesting things. Like if it was, running through the outside thought, if it was from a skeptic's point of view, if it's faked, you have at least 3 people that'll involve, a minimum of 3. You got the puppeteer and the 2 medics who come in, at least. So I think that is interesting that no one has said anything, because even like the Patterson footage of Bigfoot, people have taken credit for. Alien autopsy, people have taken credit for. Various things that come out, people take credit, whether they should or they shouldn't. They jump at it, and then no one calls them out, and then people immediately dismiss. But you're right, one of these things, we haven't had that.
The only famous hoax where no one has come forward, as Sean Morton has said, Where
Very
where
interesting.
are the people? Where is the person that did the accounting work for this production? Who owned the soundstage where they filmed it at? Who did the craft catering? Where did we get the wardrobe from? You mean no one 30 years at a pool party in Hollywood said, that crazy alien interview I did, I provided the general outfit for it? Or, I mean, come on. You mean to tell me an FX person doesn't want to come forward? What did he sign? A 50-year NDA? Give me a
Yeah.
break.
Yeah, I mean,
So I'm just,
at worst, it'd
what?
be a pet project at someone's pet project in their basement. But again, when there's plenty of footage out there of other FX people saying that, oh, I could have done it better. Of
Right.
course they could. That's
Right. Of
their
course they could.
job. They have to say that.
Of course.
They're always going to say that. But the reality is they don't know who did it. And the one thing they all say is this guy would immediately have a job.
11 special effects people
Yeah.
we've talked to. I'm talking these researchers from 96 till 4 minutes ago. 11 special effects people have no idea who did this. Really? The guy
Yeah,
that would have a job in a
curious.
minute for Spielberg. No
Exactly.
one knows who did it. No one knows who this
Exactly.
guy is.
It's
I
I
think
mean, we have
that's
the
one of the
director and the
issues.
CEO of the video company telling us Victor came to us in a taxi cab. He was a government biologist, retired. So why are we starting with Victor as an actor or Bob Dean? Why are you going to that default position? I don't freaking get it. The CEO of the video production company is a Broadway producer. The director is Jeff Broadstreet, straight shooter, a little stiff. Why would he not? It's a hoax. Don't worry about it. Yeah, we may. I mean, come on. Did everyone realize I was in contact with the person from Fox TV who first interviewed Victor? Said the same thing Jeff Broadstreet said. Weird, nuts, difficult. We threw him out of the office. So Fox is lying for a hoax on behalf of Rocket Pictures. And come on, please.
So John, you
Stop
said
squirting water on my back and telling me it's raining. Hey, come on.
you said you think you've seen his face now, Victor's.
Yes.
Are you saying he's still alive?
No.
Right, because in
Now,
his
if our bio is and research is wrong, then we're wrong. But
yeah,
from our research and bio, he's no longer with us. He's dead.
He said in his last interview that he was not long for this world. He's
Right.
moving on to a different
Right.
body.
Right. Different vessel.
Different vessel, that's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what else I found interesting about that video? So here lately, talk of UFOs, aliens, all these things are very big in the media. And you have Tucker Carlson, arguably one of the biggest independent news sources out there now. I mean, he's dominating that scene. Has talked a lot about that. And he has made reference, along with other people have made reference to the soul vessel, that whole mantra. He said things that are so scary that he doesn't like talking about.
Right.
And it's very interesting because I saw when I was looking about this more in the past couple of days, because I knew we were having you on again, and I really enjoyed the last one. Have been looking forward to this one. The Heaven's Gate thing, I see that these things get confused, but this video and all that came out before Heaven's Gate happened, and that as Lee and I have termed the golden age of cults.
Right.
That's us. That's trademarked, or it should be. This came out before that. And I see a lot of that online that it gets conflated. Well, they're just stealing that from the Heaven's Gate. No. This came out first, then Heaven's Gate, and they were already planning it.
Right.
So I don't know, man. That, like, aside from real or fake, the stuff that they're talking about, like technology is too difficult to communicate, but religious and spiritual ideas aren't. I think we get so caught up on, or I know a lot of the people do, how hey, Ashton, what's up, man? He's in the chat. Some people get so caught up on that in the conspiracy and wanting to come after you and wanting to come after the people involved, and like you said, not taking the time. The message that this guy was putting out with it, when you look at it just by itself, is incredibly heavy and substantial.
It is very heavy. When you talk about, Victor says, what have they communicated? This is in 96, of course. Various minor technical aspects about the craft, but spiritual. Okay, well, what if Jon Stewart, I went back to 1805. I encounter Lewis and Clark. I've got a CD compact disc player with me. I've got my iPhone with me. How do I communicate to Lewis and Clark how an iPhone and a CD-ROM works? Well, there's a laser light, and oh yeah, you only know candle light. Well, it's like a beam. What's a beam? It's
Oh
like
yeah,
this,
definitely.
and it reads scratches in this plastic. What's plastic? So I would have to think that if these beings are 1,000 to 1,000,000 years and more advanced than us, how could you possibly?
Oh
Victor
yeah,
says has
definitely.
the greatest analogy. You're putting calculus into the greets and scrunches of a chimpanzee. It's
Yeah.
impossible. But could I talk to Lewis and Clark in 1805 about God, about spirituality, the universe, about
Philosophy.
belief
Yeah.
and philosophy and higher power? Talk to them for hours about it.
Yeah.
So
We
I
have an
don't
interesting
understand.
question for you, John.
Yes,
It
go
says,
ahead.
Please ask John what he told Clayton Morris about Lockheed Martin making alien reproduction vehicles."
Oh, well, the story was maybe it's not all the rage on the internet. Yes. To be very quick, uh, December 3rd, because they want me to be so specific, the keyboard warriors.
Yeah.
The first week of December, I get an email from a person that claimed to have worked for DIA and Lockheed and working for a company now that I've never heard of. And he said, I caught your podcast. I really enjoyed it. I think you might find this useful in
Mhm.
part of the whole alien phenomenon. When I worked for Lockheed, it was talk and conjecture, but from very, good sources that Lockheed, and I'm just going to spin through this, that Lockheed had success with a recovered uh, non-human intelligent craft. They made a rudimentary alien reproduction vehicle, and somehow through telepathy found out that the actual extraterrestrial craft and the pilots were some sort of symbiotic relationship, mentally and physically
Mhm.
and mechanically. And they made the leap and bounds of almost creating an identical non human intelligence spacecraft. They hid this from the government. They created their own strike recovery team for any rudimentary or sophisticated or alien reproduction vehicle if it crashed somewhere, and it did crash in 2004. The United States government were tracking it, thinking it was an actual extraterrestrial craft because they were not briefed from Lockheed that they were flying this craft,
Mhm.
and it had this the it had the modalities of a non-human intelligence craft. It crashes in northern Nevada, crashes rough landing, an unannounced or unplanned landing. If I can
Mhm.
be broad, Lockheed strike team advances on the aircraft to recover it, and allegedly a JSOC strike team from the government was sent to recover it because they thought it was a alien craft. And as crazy as this sounds, because I only believe 30% of this, a firefight ensued where two US government JSOC individuals were killed. There was more things about these two individuals that I will not talk about because it's so crazy that I don't want to think that it could happen. But two individuals from JSOC were killed. We don't know the end of the story. And this person met all of the hallmarks, in my opinion, of a whistleblower and a government employee. I've
Mhm.
been reading government employee emails for 5 years. I've been looking at them as a UFO interested person for 20. Government employees speak in abbreviations. They're
Mhm.
they're kind, they're polite, it's good grammar. It's got all of, not saying it's foolproof, but it has all, he had all the check
Mhm.
marks of somebody that worked for the government. And he had all the check marks of a whistleblower. He had the trigger event. He was pissed off that this was being kept from the public. He had the disclosure stage, which was, I'm not going to tell somebody who can fire me and jeopardize my income, but I'm going to tell a second rate party to disseminate this information, which was me. Then he had the third stage, the regret stage, where he cut me off, and then he had the fourth stage, which was, plausible deniability, where he said at the end, this all could be, just
Fake.
water cooler talk.
Yeah.
So,
Y
and I simply went on Clayton Morris, who was a friend of mine. I
Mhm.
simply went on his program because 4 days after receiving these emails, my emails on 4 different platforms on my iPhone were gone, missing. And my wife said, "You're going to the police, you're making a report, and you're going to see through this because it's the second time this has happened." And that's what I did. And then I started researching Lockheed. I started seeing these crazy stories that they have their internal hacker program, that they're more dangerous than the government. I had Stephen Greer tell me, be more afraid of corporations keeping secrets than the United States government. And I panicked. I panicked. And for the safety and the possibility of the jeopardy of my family, I went on Clayton Morris to say, this is what I was sent. It wasn't on government letterhead. It wasn't on top secret stamping on the email. I don't know this guy. He didn't mention any specific names. This is what was told. I said, the story is crazy 5 times. And I'm coming out to say, I'm not on the story. Please leave me alone if you're investigating me, and I want to move on with life. And supposedly it got so crazy with some podcasters that I made the email account, emailed me the emails of businesses that I don't even know the names of, and then I answered myself and then answered myself back again. This is what one podcaster actually claimed.
Yeah.
I mean, it's scary.
Yeah,
Very. And then I emailed he's like, well, before you go on my podcast, because I wanted to because I could see there was people not clear. So I just wanted to answer some questions. Then he claims, why did I send him the emails when he asked for them? Because I said, don't share them, meaning let's not disseminate this to the public yet, the physical emails, until somebody does more investigation, or I don't know what these are, but I'll show you the proof that they were sent to me. And it's been crazy. And then, I went on Cosmic Road to once again, because you have to defend yourself to the keyboard warriors.
No, you don't.
This is crazy. I believe 30%. I do believe Lockheed had a recovery team. If I had an experimental helicopter corporation, I would have a recovery team if a helicopter went down. So I believe that story. Everything else, I don't believe until I get more veracity.
Well,
4 days ago, let me just finish. 4 days ago, a tech guru named Nico, French-born, lives in Senegal, says, when I was doing contract work, 2 Lockheed employees pulled me aside and said, you do know that we have like reproduction fake spacecraft that we got from the aliens, and we reproduced the technology. And and he called it a shootout, which I thought was interesting. It wasn't a firefight. In his English, he said, they told me, there was a shootout between Lockheed and the government. Or he didn't say that the corporation, between this corporation and the government. So somebody out of the blue, just coming forward and saying, you might want to listen to what Jon Stewart was sent. We think it's true. So
to jump into some of these
crazy
things that are going on. So Blizzard says Lockheed has their own soldiers, and that was someone else that that maybe they contract PMCs. Lockheed is a PMC, and yes, they do have their own security services, and they're no joke at all. Interestingly enough, you can still talk trash about them online. There's only one government agency that's semi-government you can't talk trash about online. Ashton asked the same Nico that went on other podcasts the other day.
Yes. And he was a gentleman, called, had Jack from Cosmic Road podcast. We did a Zoom, 3-way Zoom. Just you're a pro wrestler and you're saying this, but a lovely individual. He was just a gentleman and a nice human being. And he's like, Jon, I know you're taking flack out there for something that you don't believe yourself, but I'm telling you, this was told to me also. But he called it a shootout, because he was using his, Parisian English or whatnot.
Did he tell you which?
But what I say about that is that my story, the firefight.
Yeah.
You see the news using the same vernacular. He did not use my vernacular, which kind of strikes it like this must have been someone else retelling him the story, another person, and they called it a firefight, a shootout, instead of what the person told me, firefight.
In-house stories. Yeah, man. It's the contractor world is bizarre, and they definitely have their own recovery teams. They have their own security forces. They have their own IT guys, and they will hire the best out of the military because they pay way more.
Way more. And what's crazy, guys, is that I went on the show saying 5 times, I counted it 5 times. This story is crazy. What was emailed to me. I am here not to sell my book, and I have a book, and I didn't plug it. I'm here not to sell my book. I am here because I am paranoid for the safety of myself and my family. period. And it's he created the emails for attention. I mean, when
I
there's
think
it's
I
now it's
think
called
this is
Battelle. I didn't even know what Battelle was. How could I email myself
yeah
but a company that I don't even know what it does? Well, I do now, but
yeah.
just frustrating. It's really
So
frustrating.
Cosmic Dave said, just landed at IM UK and lived with the Russian spy. It's all psyops for military, in our opinion. She worked in Moscow. That's exactly what you'd expect a spy to tell you, man.
Right.
Come on. Come on.
If you think the government doesn't love this whole alien phenomenon for 80 years, you're crazy. This has been a boon
Well,
for
this
you
is what
know
I find
for
weird.
for taking people's eyes off of secret project craft that went into development. And even though the phenomenon 99% chance is real, this must have been great for the government, that the fact that some beings did land and interact with humans. And I mean, the government had to be laughing their ass off. Like, how could we be so fortunate for 80 years to have a cover story that is true, and it's interacting, it's live, it's organic. I mean,
So
so
Cosmic Dave, she
you
showed.
should
I
show me the
understand what he meant. She showed me the paperwork, bro. Bro, get it to us, man. Come on, get back in there and throw some of that good loving. Get us some paperwork exclusive.
right.
Come
Be
on,
a
you can
Jon
do it.
Stewart. When somebody asks me for email, boom, you get it.
How did you get the picture, John, of Victor? Did somebody send you this, or and how can you
I,
be so
I won't
sure
say it, but I spent
that it could be
$500
him?
doing it. How's that? And
Okay.
I showed it to two other podcasters, Vinny Adams, who I don't even know, but somebody said, trust this guy with your life. And I'm like, I have to show it to somebody I don't have a relationship with. And I showed it to Jack from Cosmic Road. And they all said the same thing. It's not Bob Dean. It ain't Bob Lazar. It isn't Whitley Strieber or Victor Marchetti. It's not Jeff Broadstreet. First of all, Victor looks like he has fetal alcohol syndrome. He has no upper lip. Okay, how could I make this up? He has no upper lip. He did have a real beard at the time, but all of this was clear, was skin, and there was beard, and it looked like a scruff, a little bit below here. He had a wig on. If you took an American truck driver baseball hat from the 70s and put it on Victor and put him in a race car telecast in the 70s, he would look like a stock car driver from Alabama in the 70s. And in the number 27 car is Victor, driving the Chevron Mobile, Toyota or whatever. I mean, he looked like a Southern race car driver with the beard and the wild wig and stuff. He had fetal alcohol syndrome. Um, he had a thin lip, or we would call it no upper lip almost.
You said he was a biologist, right? Or biochemist?
Biologist. Victor
Biologist.
was, and I've left this out, Victor was the caretaker for the dead aliens in captivity, in storage. Does that sound
So did
okay?
he work for the Department of the Navy, or did he work for a private corporation?
We believe that he worked for the Defense Intelligence Agency,
DIA.
which also contracted, which also it was a homogenous. It was oh God, I'm trying to think of it was like a melting pot in S4. You had people working for DIA, you had people working for the Department of Naval Intelligence, and some other groups that were interspliced. You would get they would intersplice people that were maybe working for, let's say, Lockheed or another corporation, and they'd be cycled in and cycled out. It was
They're all working
everything to
under the
try and
umbrella
find.
of the Department of Energy, though.
Well, what we have been told and what we have found out with documents, okay, the facility S2 Alpha with S4 underneath, the facility from a FOIA request was built by the Air Force in around 1962. The Air Force gives the alien program over to DIA, which was newly created by JFK and Senator Barry Goldwater. The DIA takes over the program. The Air Force still runs, like as far as roads and maintenance, the Nellis test range, which is what it's called. It's not called Area 51 to military people. It's the Nellis test range, and S4 and Pomney Airstrip. Area 51 is part of that. It was run by the DIA under the umbrella of the Air Force, and a lot of it, the Department of Naval Intelligence also ran a lot of the programs.
Doesn't
Why
the
you see
property itself
B&I on the
belong to the
bottom?
Department of Energy, though?
Well,
They're the
that I
ones
don't know.
who wrote it off, because the independent contractors that work out there for security, who run all that base, they're the same ones that work at all the nuclear national labs and other facilities. They're also the
Well-
ones that run export for Department of Energy.
Well, that might be true. All I know is that the Air Force runs the massive complex. The Defense Intelligence Agency ran S4, S2, along with in conjunction with the Air Force, who acted as personnel. That's why Richard Doty has the DD-214 to be in the administration level of S4, which was the top level, because he was with the Air Force. The cameramen in area in S4 and S2, Air Force. The police officers, Air Force. So again, when I say
Very
the
interesting.
melting pot, it is, I think, an accurate description. And when you see the Department of Naval Intelligence on the bottom of the Victor film, it's not because they were running that interview program. It was because they were asking the questions at that time.
It was
to
their
the
turn.
being. According to people, there was a conga line of other three-letter agencies outside of the interview suite, getting ready to insert their questions to that being. Maybe not on that day, so many, or on different days there was less or more, but it was other agencies ready to insert their questions to the being.
What's Doty's opinion on the video?
It's interesting. Everybody thinks, oh, Doty, Jon Stewart's been dotified. Richard Doty doesn't hardly know anything. He says to people, I don't know much about the film. He says that he knows that it's real. He has seen it in briefings. He knows people that are part of the alien interrogation and retention program. He knows that Doty was the one that gave me the S2. He said, John, you people don't know what they're talking about. The main facility is not S4. It's called S2 Alpha. Here's the FOIA when it was built in the 60s, and S4 is underneath S2 Alpha. Another thing Doty said, conjecture. Like, I would have stories of pro wrestlers that I really don't even, that I don't even have a communication with. He said, I remember in 96, other intelligence people saying that there is a director who's got sharp elbows, specific wording, looking to find out the identity and the provenance of where he worked, what agency, of Victor. So for Rick to tell me that he heard in the coffee shops, so to speak, the little chats between intelligence people that, hey, there's a guy in Hollywood that's looking for the biologist, I think that was pretty revelatory. It really coincided with me saying, why is a director looking for proof of an actor if he hired Victor was an actor, right? Why are you? And Jeff Broadstreet said, yeah, I spent 2 weeks vetting Victor's, what he told me about himself. So Rick Doty, not knowing who Jeff Broadstreet is, Rick Doty telling an innocuous story of chatter amongst intelligence people in 96 that a director in Hollywood and Jeff's stiff, the director of both Victor interviews. He's stiff. I mean, it's cut and dry with him. I can see him rubbing people the wrong way, trying to look for proof of Victor's identity.
I find people's attitude towards Doty really interesting, because I know he's come out in the past and he's talked about the stuff he's been involved in, and he's spoken about disinformation that he's pro himself. But the thing I have with that is, if you're going to do that job, you have to know things. They can't. So he can't be both things.
Liar. How dare you say that, liar?
Well, yeah, obviously, but it's you see people say he knows nothing, but he's a disinformationist. Right. He can't be a disinformationist from the government, which he's admitted he's done in the past, without knowing shit at the same time. So that's why I always take notice of what he says more. Like I'd say probably more than the average keyboard warrior.
Yeah, right. There's 8 billion people in the world. 2 people with the DD-214 that put them at S2 Alpha. I know both of them. Sergeant Michael Munoz, who came out on a chat room and said, excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, I've been to S2 Alpha. Richard Doty's correct. Jon Stewart's correct. This program is real. So it wasn't just Doty. You're right. Doty's been briefed in on everything. He has to be a counterintelligence. And because Doty had to disform and disillusion people and lie to people, what he can't come clean now. I respect a guy like Richard Doty, and the 5 or 6 times I've had a conversation with him now in 3 years, is that how many times he says, I can't talk about that. It's classified still. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Richard Doty is not yeah, let me tell you this, let me tell you that. It's, I don't know. I don't know. Can't talk about it. Here's what I do know about this. And so none of the keyboard warriors want me to at least speak to the 2 people in the world that are willing to come forward with the DD-214 that puts them above the alien retention and interrogation program. Really? Okay. Well, that doesn't make me a good investigator if I blow those 2 people off because of opinions and and then I found other things out about Doty, that the government knocked on his door one time telling him, don't talk about this. So he got in trouble. That at the end of his Air Force career, there was I'm not making rumors. I'm just at the end of his Air Force career, there was a friction between Doty and the Air Force. This is what I heard. Never talked to Rick about it. But there was a little, you know, they didn't actually leave with the cake ceremony, and Richard Doty, even though he's been decorated by Ronald Reagan and stuff. So, you know, why am I not to believe a 70-something-year-old man who wants to just tell the truth now? He doesn't like the UFO community because they don't believe him on stories that he knows are factual. I don't know what else to tell people, but I'm certainly going to talk to Doty to be a credible investigator.
Yeah, you have to. Absolutely.
I think it's more believable that someone that's maybe had like a checkered history wants to come out and be like say things that are either help them sleep at night or who knows. We have so many conversations about this stuff now where we talked about Tucker Carlson before about saying that there's a spiritual component to all this stuff.
Right.
If that's not a good reason for trying to wipe your slate clean before like your inevitable end comes on this planet, I don't know what is.
Right. And you can't blame him for being upset. And I don't blame the UFO community too. I mean, I'm sure Richard Doty realizes that coming forward, 30 years ago, there was going to be blowback. He's not stupid, but if somebody is going to tell the world the night when I wrestled on ESPN for the light heavyweight championship of the world, and it's not what I know to be true of that night, wouldn't that piss you off? They wrote a book about it, and I know what actually happened, so I understand. He's got some I wouldn't say hatred, but he's got some real animosity towards a lot of UFO people that
So do we. It's okay.
He just try to help.
John.
So do we, John.
You've had a hell of a lot of people like turning around telling you that this thing isn't real, it's a puppet. How many people have you had that have turned around to you and said, John, this is real and this is why? And who are the ones that really stand out?
Yeah. So about 8 special effects people without doing, I'm just being honest here. Please listen to me. Not you 3 gentlemen, but just telling you.
Yeah, I know what you meant.
Yeah.
Okay. Around, I don't have the exact, about 8 special effects people without doing any investigation. I call it whistling past the video, like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's a puppet. Oh, it's fake. Good job, but it looks fake. I had one investigator. It's fake. It's an animatronic puppet. Then I push him. Then I sent him close-ups. And then it went from it's an animatronic puppet to it's a static body. So a static puppet and a hand in the head. Jon Stewart calling on line 4. The alien's chin is so narrow. How did it? You could get a hand in there. You could get a hand in there. Oh, but the eyebrow moves. Oh, they could have put a remote control cable and then somebody else worked the cable. I'm like, oh, I thought you said it was a static puppet. Now it's static and it's animatronic. I'm just wondering. Uh, well, yeah, okay. So there's a male or female hand moving the mouth open and closed that I've never seen before in animatronics. He's like, yes. I'm like, okay. One time the mouth is open, but the lower lip curls down like a resting bitch face. I don't know what else to. How did somebody have their hand in there and then put put another hand to make the bottom lip curl down at the same time? It's the crickets are chirping in the background. Well, that could have been a remote control. Oh, so we have an animatronic person doing the eyebrow. We have an animatronic person doing the lip, the lower lip, and then someone's hand is in the mouth. And okay, but there's one point where we see the back of the alien and we don't see a hand or anything. Well, it's dark. No, we've got the 5-10 seconds where Victor, the original VHS, is blue, and you could see when the bean turns. And how does the bean make a? He does a diagonal thing with his head. How does a guy with a hand in there maneuver that? And he's coughing and opening the mouth. And it's I call it the Mississippi two step. It's the da 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 da. It's the floor show now. That was that interaction. Then I had an FX person emailing me. You can believe it or not. I'm just telling you. Don't let anyone tell you any different. I don't care if it's 2024. In real time, in 96, we could not make emotion on a animatronic doll like that being had. The emotion that being had. And it's funny because people who see the close-up at the end all say the same thing. The alien kind of slumps back. He looks like he's exasperated. We were doing exasperated looks in 96. Okay. Are you ready for the bombshell?
Yes.
First of all, the unofficial alien interview, who says it on his channel. I've done meticulous work on the alien interview, except that he doesn't show the public where the alien's right arm deflates like Kermit the Frog's arm. Are you listening to me? It sounds like I'm debunking the film. The arm deflates. It's like a skin. And I'm like, why didn't you show everyone that footage, that single? Because I knew it was a shadow, but no one else knows. Why didn't you show that to the world? Because you're a shit investigator and you're a grifter and you sold copyrighted DVDs in the mid 2000s that you didn't own, and you're not legit. Because I would have showed people that. Wait a minute. So I'm like, it's a hoax. As good as it is, something's going on with all these people that contacted me, and you guys know the report of all the men. Something's going on. Maybe the government filmed this, but the arm deflated. Wait, and I'm telling you this. Now I go to the FX people, two other FX people. I'm like, I think it's a hoax. Oh my God, show us why. I show them the arm deflated. The first guy goes, oh, that's not a hoax. I'm like, wait, are you looking at the same photo still? The bean's arm is flat as a pancake. He's like, nobody in the FX world would have done that. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, nobody's that stupid or bad enough to create a doll. That would be like you'd have to pump air in it. Nobody, we use foam. We didn't inflate dolls back in 96. I'm like, what are you telling me? He's like, well, that kind of proves that it's real because I know an FX guy wouldn't have done that. I'm like, what?
So it looks so bad, then that's why it's real.
Right. The next FX guy, he's like, there's no way anybody did that. Any of my friends, he said his friends, any of my friends did that. I'm like, why? He goes, well, it's not inflatable. We didn't inflate. We use foam.
Yeah.
Called dragon skin. So you're telling me that the alleged hoaxed alien interview with an obvious, what the F is, why is the shoulder and bicep flat as a pancake? And you're telling me that now you think it's real because nobody in the FX world would create a bean or a puppet full of air. Yes. Okay. Now I get an email. Call my cousin. He's a zoologist, reptilian. I don't know what you call him. What is a guy that studies snakes? A reptologist? I don't know. Email the guy. I said, what can you tell me about the alien's arm going flat? He said, I just want to let you know that there are many species of reptiles, when they are nervous, when they are scared, when they feel threatened, they go flat as a pancake. His words, flat as a pancake. So,
It's
so
interesting.
when you wonder why I
Serpent.
lay
That's an
awake at
interesting
night, this is
serpent
why
tie-in right there.
right, a serpent tie-in. I didn't ask for that. So when I thought I was conclusively proving that this video was a hoax, now I have special effects people saying, "Oh, we didn't do that. No way." Okay, as my wife says, and I love my
Yeah.
wife Joanne. If you want to talk to my husband, pull a ticket on the crazy train, because this is what it is.
You're
It's
in
the
the right
crazy
place.
train.
This
Yeah.
is the crazy train. Ashton asks, "How sure are you the DNI alien footage is real? What percentage? 100%? Question mark.
Oh my God, what a great film. What a great question. Just because all of the irregularities, all of the cross-referencing, people from one era matching the statement from somebody from another era, nobody coming forward in 30 years. Government, Hollywood, credible UFO researcher with credible evidence that I could take to a police officer that it's faked. I am, and I don't have puppet in a garage. I don't have the alien or formaldehyde, so 100% is off the chain. I would say I am about 87% that it was filmed, it was an actual extraterrestrial being filmed. I am 5% that it could have possibly been hoaxed by the government, and I am 0% that somebody in Hollywood hoaxed this.
Awesome.
How's that?
That's an excellent answer to that question.
Well, the idea of somebody putting all that money in to fake something like that, the question is
what?
why? Because
Right.
the only good reason for somebody to fake it is if it was Rocket itself. If they faked it so they could then make
Right.
it like a mockumentary
Right.
sort of thing. That would
And
be the
Lee, I've
only
talked to people on the production trying to be a good I don't mean to cut you off. Trying
No,
to be
no.
a good investigator. Called people who were on the production of the Rocket video alien interview documentary. 3 people. I said, "What happened?" He said, "Jeff said, come to the office. I got to show you something." And even Jeff looked at him and said, I know, but this is what it is." All 3 of them said the same thing. Sean Morton said the same thing. Jeff Broadstreet, they were friends, said, "Come to the office. You got to see this." Like everyone reaffirmed what Jeff Broadstreet has been telling me for 3 years, what the CEO, Tom Coleman, has told me for 3 years. We didn't do it. Victor came to us in a taxi cab. He said he was from the government. He was at Fox TV first, and they threw him out. So did Victor fake it? Okay, so government biologist retired that doesn't drive, coordinated at least an $80,000 production with soundstage, animatronics, catering, wardrobe, script writing, films, camera rental.
I mean,
Really?
they might not have
Okay.
had all that. If it was, they might not. They might have just been. But why did they throw him out? Why did Fox
Because
throw
the
him out?
person, why didn't anybody think to talk to the guy from Fox TV that met Victor?
Excellent question. I'm very curious why they
But I'm
chucked
the
him
only
out.
one that did. He said, "Weirdo, pain in the ass." Or he didn't. I'm sorry, Jeff. Jeff Broadstreet has said "pain in the ass" a million times. The Fox guy, weirdo, too much trouble, and he threw. And I couldn't guarantee the guarantees that Victor wanted, which was total anonymity. His name on not anything, and they just threw him out.
Why'd they call him a weirdo? Like what? Like that's interesting. What would
Well,
invoke
that
that
was his
about him?
vernacular. That's a good question.
Yeah.
That was his. I have no idea. I don't know. But you could kind of tell on the thing, he's like this. How do I describe Victor on
He's
the
a
3 interviews?
caricature of a mystery man.
Basically, but
Yeah.
I can imagine this hair lip guy with a bad 80s government suit on, and telling me that, we're going to do it this way and we're going to do it that way. And you don't understand. And, do you think Hollywood
Well,
gives a
I
shit about all this? They don't care.
no.
They want to
Yeah.
make money. So if, Victor was probably getting, I am this, folks, this is my interpretation of knowing Hollywood and listening to Victor, that Victor was probably going to think, "Oh my God, hold on, Victor. Can you get the president of Fox down here? Oh my God, Victor, this is incredible. What can we do?" And that's not the way Hollywood works. That's not Hollywood's collective personality. So,
No, I know lots of smart government people, and they're uber nerds. And when
uber
they
nerds.
get like, oh yeah, and when
Yeah.
they get pressed, in fact, I go to a weekly trivia competition with a bunch of them. they're really good at the science questions. They are shit at sports.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know a guy who he knows how to get to the place where we have trivia. He knows how to get home and he knows how to get to work. That's it.
Right.
Uh,
And again,
they're bizarre
so
people, man. They're
so it's
bizarre.
a hoax. It's an actor. So
Yeah.
Fox, the guy from Fox who made no money, is telling the same story as the guy who directed it in 30. It's the grand scheme. The 75-year-old-ish philanthropist, one percenter that got the list for me and emailed it to me. He called the widow of one of the doctors on the list, told her, if this guy should ever call you, tell him your husband was secretive. And come on, please. A screenwriter in 96, knowing that the number 27 means Yankee white, people that have to deal with the president. And then on the list is a vice admiral who was Colin Powell's chief of staff for intelligence, who we put in the Oval Office. Really? Really, folks? I think people have way better things to do than hoaxing a retired car dealer from Chicago.
Have you spoke to all? Well, probably not all of them, because I don't know if all.
I can only hear out of one ear, so I'm listening. Go ahead.
Have you spoke to pretty much everybody you could that was involved in the creation of the documentary? The original.
Well, I never spoke with Bob Dean. I spoke with Sean Morton. I spoke with Jaime Musan, who was called in to analyze it. I did not speak with Jim Delatoso, who was in the documentary. I spoke with Stephen Adair, finally, about 2 weeks ago, who was interviewed, said the same thing. I knew no one on the production that said this was fake. We were told this guy came to the studio with this film. I've talked to, for 3 years, the director of both films and the CEO, who's also on camera, Tom Coleman, who says, is this a video of a space alien? I don't know. Jeff and Tom Coleman for 3 years. I don't know what else to tell you. We did not make this video. We did not know who Victor was prior to him contacting us when he was at the newsstand on Cayuga Boulevard, however you pronounce it, in Los Angeles.
So now that you believe you know who Victor was, and
Yes.
you have the picture, and he's passed away.
Yeah.
How do you go about? What's your next step? What's your next step to get this? Does he have family? Is there someone who can be reached out to? Kids, grandkids, something like that?
Yeah. After we did his, I can't release that much because I'm still on a production, but we will show the world as much information of how we disseminated Victor's biography. So, but he did die.
Which coast did he work on?
West
Coast specifically.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
That's we had 3, not the guy that I just talked, or did I just talk about in the beginning, the latest lie deception? 2 years ago, we had 3 men from the Reed School of Lie Deception and Lie Detection, which is based in Chicago. And all 3 of them said the same thing, that Victor had some of the hallmarks of a whistleblower by using dark humor. He was pedantic, which is indicative of a scientific background. You have to be precise. That he was nervous, that he was dealt with a great deal of stress. And I'm going to get back to the original guy from a couple of weeks ago. But the one police officer said, I caught Victor saying "man" like that, "man," like, "Hey, man." And he said, I believe Victor was a West Coast person. Now, years later, Jeff Broadstreet tells me he didn't drive. He took a cab to the Rocket Studio Pictures in Beverly Hills. Again, somebody telling me something, and then somebody else kind of saying, doesn't it sound like he might have lived in the California area if he's taking cabs and not driving? And I don't know, maybe I'm stretching. Maybe I'm stretching, but it certainly, to me, sounds like he lived in the Los Angeles greater area, and we have the location of the second 08 interview when he's in Jeff Broadstreet's Honda CRV. We've got the Ziploc baggie full of money in the door panel, the passenger door panel. It's in the Santa Monica Hills by these radar dishes. So we're assuming Jeff picked him up somewhere, maybe at his home, maybe he took a cab to Rocket Pictures and Jeff and him drove up to the satellite. Jeff won't answer that yet. So I am assuming from Jeff Broadstreet, the director's testimony, trying to read through the lines, and this lie detection person, that he was definitely California based.
You know which
West
labs he
Coast
was
based.
associated with? Yeah.
And that is my opinion.
Yeah.
That is
Do
my
you know
opinion.
which?
I don't want it to,
Yeah. Have you narrowed down to what labs he may have been associated with?
No,
Start acting former retired coworkers.
no, but we know by that. Well, he's been sheep dipped. It's like the doctor that I tell people, where this doctor of 40 years, there's nothing on him in the internet. Not a hole in one at the country club, not being his marriage announcement, sheep dip. He's just missing.
It's a whole bunch
And
of my friends.
Yeah, Victor has the same modalities in regards to his biography.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. If you could figure out which labs, like if he was a DIA biologist, that's going to narrow down where he would have been pimped out to.
Right.
If he was Department of Naval Intelligence, it would have been what labs he would have been pimped out to, because there's only so many with crossover.
Exactly.
Or Air Force or whoever, or maybe he's a JPL guy who's getting loaned out to Skunk Works to go work over here. But either way, like those labs are there. Those people are so clannish. You know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely. And people will say, well, give us more examples of how somebody corroborates another person's testimony. No problem. In the second documentary, Victor talking about Donald Rumsfeld like he has met him many times, enough times to call him a bombastic boob, enough times to know his schedule, and says, look where Donald Rumsfeld was on Easter of 08, which I did. But did anybody else find out where he was? This is not a big deal, but at least I took Victor's challenge. So Victor is talking about Cheney and his hatred for Cheney, his hatred for Rumsfeld, the bombastic boob. I mean, that he's got to have met them. Then we find out months ago that Victor was the caretaker of the deceased aliens, showing military and scientists in the program, and showing political dignitaries that were allowed to go down to S4 to see this program and see the bodies. So corroboration that Rumsfeld and Cheney, Secretary of Defense and Vice President, were down there interacting with Victor as he's showing the aliens in liquid storage. And you could just tell Rumsfeld being a goof and asking dumb questions and infuriating Victor, and Cheney coming off as aloof. And I don't know this for sure, but I could tell this from Victor's visceral reaction about Cheney and Rumsfeld. And then we find out that, lo and behold, now he did have contact with them, with conjecture stories, that he was the caretaker of the beans, giving the guided tour, as I used the vernacular, of the dead aliens to dignitaries and people in the program. This is how he met Rumsfeld. This is how he met Cheney. This is why he's got a personal opinion of both of them.
I don't know if you
in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know if you can tell us this or not. Did he die of natural causes, or is there anything interesting involved in his death?
Why are you trying to get me in trouble? It is my opinion. It is my opinion, and I should have the piece of paper in front of me. I'm not.
So that's they made him get quiet. Gotcha.
Okay. From what Jeff Broadstreet said, there was itching. That's why he had the back scratcher. We think Victor had a liver disease that manifested one of the symptoms in a very oily, itchy skin. Subharabic. Oh my God, my niece, who is a medical surgical assistant, is going to kill me because we were talking about it. It is a manifestation of liver disease that your skin becomes very oily and uncontrollably itchy. That's all I'll say. Could be wrong.
Will the public be well, I say the public. Will the UFO community at some point, when they watch your documentary, will they see Victor?
Oh, we're going to show his face, and we're going to give his name. Oh, yes. So this is beautiful. And again, 2 podcast people have seen Victor. So all of the UFO skeptics, all of the people that have told me it's Bob Dean. You are wrong, and I will put $2,500 in your pocket. I will fly to your home and hand you $25 if you meet the 3 conditions to prove to an independent investigator it's Bob Dean. Photo, Bob Dean's name and signature on an appearance document, right? If it's Bob Dean, what's so hard about that? And professional voice analyzer that the man in the chair wasn't Jeff Broderick. You got to meet those 3 conditions. If it's Bob Dean, Big Dean, that should be easy. It's not Bob Dean. Will everyone listen to me? So now what do? UFO world, skeptics. It's not Bob Dean. It's not Lazar. It's not Whitley Schreiber. It's not Victor Marchetti. Now, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? I don't know. You tell me. But it's not Bob Dean.
I wouldn't worry about him too
everyone
much,
told
man.
me 30
Haters
years
are going to hate.
30 years ago. Well, okay, so Vinny Adams, a guy I doesn't know, a podcaster's lying. Jack from Cosmic Road, he's lying. He's Bob Dean. 30 years ago, everyone told the world and myself, if you find out who Victor is, you prove the entire film. If he's an actor, well, then we know probably it's a hoax. If he's a real person that works for the government, then game on. Okay, game on.
Yeah. Like I said,
$500. I'll fly to your house. How hard could this be? If you know it's Bob Dean, and I've proven that Victor and Bob Dean have different ties, go on Hunting Victor YouTube channel. You'll see, not Bob Dean, different ties. And the director's email to me. This interview took place at the Rocket Picture Studios, Beverly Hills. They said it took place at Bob Dean's house. Not Bob Dean, from the director and 3 other people, including myself, that have seen the picture. So now what are you going to do? Now what do I do?
Oh, I mean, one is I truly wouldn't worry too much about the skeptics and haters, man. That's just what they do. They love to get the rise out. They're not into the subject. They don't care. For them, it's just fun to be hateful.
And I appreciate that. And I'm an easy mark because I'm a hyperbolic person. But I'm just simply saying, I'm challenging people. Maybe somebody else can take a further ball and, but all I'm telling you, it's not Bob Dean, Lazar, Schreiber, or Victor Marchetti, or Jeff Broadstreet, the director. Now what? Now what do we do? And it's next week. We're going to have, the Malaysian flight M37. It'll just, it's then they push Jon Stewart into the closet, and I won't exist, and I've got brain damage from wrestling, and I'm sure that story will start circulating, and then when they see Victor on a documentary, it'll be no, it looks like he looks like he looks like a Southern race car driver in the 1970s, so with a hair lip. So Bob Dean looked like that. Yeah, no.
Yeah, it's like I said, man. The haters are gonna hate. There's a lot of toxicity in the UFO community. It's amazing. It's these people who have been they're in their own, we were in the golden age of cults. Now we're in the golden age of, I don't know, hyper
rhetoric and skepticism.
Yeah, maybe a hyper-focused belief system. It's not even skepticism, because some of the people who are like skeptics, they have their own belief, but it is this and everyone else is wrong.
Right.
It's like if you grow up in a small southern town with 300 churches and only 2,000 people, all 4 people in a church think everybody else is going to hell, but not them.
Right, but not them, right.
That's ufology right now.
Yeah, Al, I'm trying to help other podcasters and other skeptics. Like, don't embarrass yourself. I yelled at Stephen Cambion on Truth Seekers. I'm like, you're gonna have to walk this back one day, and you're gonna eat a lot of shit. Stop right now.
Solid advice, John.
It's not freaking Bob Dean. Stop. You're gonna be embarrassed. I don't care what else you believe. It's not Bob Dean.
Boo the Beagles got you. Don't feed the trolls, John. You did a good job. Yeah, you do it. They just keep coming around, man. They just keep coming around.
Hey, I'm a heel in pro wrestling. I have to react back to the heels, or else I don't get paid.
Yeah, there you go.
Just instinct. Sorry.
Yeah, no. So as you're tracking this down, have you tried to find anyone else associated with it? Now that you have who you believed Victor to be, you're going to be able to pull up work contacts next, right? You're going to be able to
And with
out.
more money with the documentary, like I told everybody, we've got about 30 hours in the can. we want to make the puppet. We want to recreate the puppet with 24 technology to see how close we can get. We want to do the synchronized high-tech voice analysis to show everybody it wasn't the director when Victor was talking. That takes a lot of money. What are other things? We still have leads to follow in Italy. I want to go back to Cuba to find the priest that I met with. What else do we want to do? There are a couple more people that I would like to interview. I would like to go with a camera to the doctor's widow who spoke to me and said, "That's my husband in the film." There was one other thing I have in the tip of my tongue. Oh my God, my COVID brain. What are the things that are going to take substantial other people that I wanted to interview? Oh God, I'm sorry.
No
drawing
worries,
a
man.
total break, but there's a
Here-
couple of other people that I would like to. I'd like to do a 1-hour sit down with Doty on camera. Find this Michael Munoz. Oh, this is what I wanted to tell you. So 4 days ago, okay, let me go back again. Give us more stories. How one story from one era meets another. Okay, here's a story. It is found, let me use good vernacular. It's found that the two men in the foreground of the Victor Alien interview, the military general and his aide to the right, you see their shoulders that get involved in the camera. The man on our right, it is found that he is holding a Sony Walkman video recorder where it's a little screen. You hold it in your hand with the strap. Please listen to me, folks. Now, we know the film was on 16 millimeter, shot on 16 millimeter. So says Bill Mums, who did the National Geographic breakdown of the Patterson Gimlin film. 40-year person in video and special effects. John, it was shot on 16 millimeter. Rick Doty, 1991, probably still would have been shot on 16 millimeter. Okay. So this man has got a Sony Video Walkman that there was another recording, okay, in the room. Okay. So it's great that we see the picture of him, a little blurry, but you can see the strap. We've got the Sony. It came out in 1989 or 90. The film was in 91. Are you ready for this? This Nico, a tech guru from France living in Senegal, gets me on Zoom. He said, "I want to tell you something. I saw that video. I saw your alien. But John, here's the weird thing." I'm like, "Okay." He goes, "What I remember was it was from a different angle. And there was showing more men in the room." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Why? What's the big deal?" I said, "Because we show somebody else filming it in the room besides the government, besides the Air Force. So you're proving that camera that was connected to the Sony Video Walkman, that's the videotape you saw." And he said it was a wider angle, way more. He said way more men in the room in a different angle. Oh, how in the frick? Nobody knew about this Sony Walkman video. They put it out in a couple of little blurbs and nobody knew about this. Nobody knew that there was two tapes. And he said, what I saw was just under an hour. And so he is proving in story about this other military aide holding and videotaping another independent video of this interview. He saw it. It's a different angle. A wider angle shows more men in the room, which backs up my document. My alleged DIA internal memo says that there were the two telepaths and 4 military men in the room. I mean, I don't know what else to do. All that's hoax. Okay.
Well, a change of pace there. We had someone wanted a very specific question asked of you, and they put it in there. Did you ever fight Papa Shango?
No.
Because we got other people
that's
they
Savio
love
Vega,
Papa.
right? Savio Vega, right?
I don't know
Savio
wrestling.
Vega he was in Puerto Rico a lot. I had an offer to go to Puerto Rico after Bruiser Brody was stabbed in his shower. Little suburbanite Johnny Stewart was not going to Puerto Rico to wrestle with all that treachery down there. Buddy Landau said, "Don't go down there." But Savio Vega was very big down there, so I probably would have wrestled or met him down there. I heard Savio's a great guy, by the way.
Yeah,
Never met him.
Change. You know what I think is interesting is something we've talked about. We have a conspiracy mothership podcast. We have 3 different podcasts we run on the weekend. This is the interview day, and we've been I've definitely been looking forward to this. Something that's been coming up on our other show that we've been talking about. all three of us have been rewatching the X-Files. And it's amazing to see things like this that are coming to light, things that you're talking about that were portrayed in the X-Files early on. It was like it was desensitizing the population to it for when that came out. I mean, especially the first season. We're talking about recovery teams. That was episode 10, season 1. Military and private contractors are going in there, shutting things down, faking it to do retrieval, vaccines with potential strange things going on there. Not only that, like everything from the Greys, from possession to all these modern topics like souls in containers. I think that was episode 8 or 7, the NASA one where they were trying to launch. It's amazing. And so you're talking to Hollywood, you have more experience definitely than myself in entertainment. How much do you think of that is? How much do you think that is getting put out there just to get in people's minds so that when it does come out, it is immediately just kind of pushed to the side as that's just another fake thing. They're stealing from, TV.
There's a theory that I'm developing after, a mountain of testimony and stories and witness testimony that the government has had a desensitizing program since the 50s with the public. And I think the most concrete and factual story of that is Steven Spielberg saying that, the government leaked the Holloman story to him, and he developed Close Encounters of a Third Kind from that Holloman story. That's 70% that I truly believe the government lets out finances in third party companies, production companies. And I do believe that since it's in the lexicon, and I'm sure the government probably would have realized that this is happening, that since the government is giving the extraterrestrial phenomenon a shove into the lexicon of people via Hollywood, that other people like me wouldn't be interested and would be interested. And then we would write our own screenplays and movies and TV shows based on what we've heard. So it's a kind of like a good vicious circle for the government. But I hate to be one of those people that's 100%, but I believe to a high degree that the government has had many, many, many instances of infiltrating Hollywood to get certain projects greenlit, to be technical advisors on certain projects, to, if you do it this way, we will give you the use of an airbase. If you tell it this way, we will let you green light and use our technical staff all the time. Absolutely 100%. 100%.
Shaping the narrative.
So, to hear things that were in a movie and other thing and then come out later on, and I think it's gonna come out with this Lockheed story, but people that are honorable in these military in the intelligence community and in military that want to leak out stories, okay, and I have a two-part answer to this. To leak out stories, they go through the government. It's called MSOP, something like that, where you go to the Pentagon, I want to write this book, wink, and they look through it and go, this really happened, but we'll redact this. And because the Pentagon loves to be able to go back and say, well, 30 years ago, we let Close Encounters be made. We were trying to tell you what happened without panicking you. I know that for a fact, that there are retired and current Pentagon officials who are what's the word, are resting on the laurels of the government being able to say, well, we did try and tell you, but we couldn't come right out and show you the real video of the being coming out of the craft. So we let this guy stage it, or we let this movie talk about it and try and, kind of a, again, it's the Mississippi River two-step. We tried to get it out, but we let it faked so we could, tell you, and it would be a soft disclosure. And the other part of that is how many people have told me about government magic. I mean, Stephen Greer talks about, and Stephen Greer has not talked about me about this, but I've heard him talk about it, and other people have told me that the government has staged certain things and let it out. So it is a soft disclosure without actually being real, if that makes sense. If a craft crashes in Chicago and 3 beings fall out of the craft and die in the ground, and it's, the government recreates it, lets it be put out by a ufologist, so the government can say, we did try and show you, we just couldn't show you the actual video. And I believe that 3 or 4% of the alien interview, the possibility that it could have been government stagecraft. Yes, I don't believe it, but there's a 3 to 4% chance, if I'm a gambling man, that it could have been government stagecraft. Victor's pissed off. They, they pull Victor aside. We'll let you leak this fake video. I don't believe it, but it's an outside possibility from what I know about the government.
Oh, that's not even what I was alluding to. I just think it's interesting. The timing of that is because you have within several years of each other. I mean, and not even several, a few years. You have this, you have the alien autopsy, you have Skinny Bob interview.
Yeah.
You have these 3 things saturating with distinct look, kind of moving through. The other 2 people took credit for, but in a weird way. And this one, nothing. So it would,
exactly.
You could even reason that this one, did this one come out first? I didn't check.
No, Alien Autopsy, and then this came out.
Yeah.
And thank you for saying that, Al. Again, all of these keyboard warriors who, with credibility, with proof, is coming forward to say, I'll even take the man or the woman that did the catering that day, that provided the food truck. Just give me them. Go away. I'll tell everybody it's fake. I'll make a little documentary. You'll never hear from me again. Give me the accountant. Give me the login sheet at the Central Casting Wardrobe for an Army general and a Navy admiral that day in 1996, where it was shipped to Rocket Pictures or whatever. Just give me just something, folks. And I'm not talking about the B-roll that Rocket Pictures filmed. I'm talking about the Victor film. Give me someone who did it with credibility, and I'll shut up. 30 years, no one's come forward.
Have you looked up other alien greys? I say greys, but like the tanned looking ones. Have you tried to find more of them?
Well, I've talked about what the alleged, this is what Truth Seekers wants to say. God bless them. And I agree. What the alleged Defense Intelligence Agency retranscribed internal investigation memo that was leaked to me, it's a mouthful, said was that this was identified as an other gray, a haploid. Gray type 1 is got the almond eyes, totally gray. Type 2, a little more humanoid looking, a little bit more of a rounder eyes, still gray. And then this other, a little rounder, but still almond. That's type 2. And type 3, this other gray, is tan with round eyes. That's our guy. And he was a haploid. He had 1 sexual chromosome, according to the internal investigation.
And he had
and
reptile
then it came
features.
from Zeta Reticulum.
Yeah. Reptile features and how he deflated, correct?
That is what whatever a person that studies
whatever they're called.
Whatever they're called. I'm sorry. Again, folks, I don't have whatever he was called. He's like, oh no, reptiles.
I tell you what, should this be real? And it's very interesting. I'm not saying it is or it isn't. That's not
right. Nor am I.
I'm just here for a conversation. Yeah. So someone keeps bringing up, Kevin does, Timothy Alberino and L.A. Marzulli. I like both those guys. And the snake serpent aspect, I'm surprised those guys haven't jumped all over that angle. They probably don't know it. If
Do you
they
know my
did,
worst nightmare as a kid was the movie where the guy turned into a snake in the carnival? With Strother Martin.
Yeah. Oh,
I start going into a psychiatric event. I'm retelling my childhood, and that movie scared me. But again, the zoologist is like, look, certain snakes, reptiles fold like a pancake, his words, during stress.
Jennifer's been on the show before, and she's seen one of these.
She says, I see things. I'm an experiencer. I log my vision about Turkey. Premonitionbureau.scene grays.
Okay.
Thanks,
Jennifer.
Yeah.
But they tanned.
It's another thing. Can I say one more thing about experiencers? Whitley Strieber was emotionally moved when he saw this being. I think he said something like, this is familiar to me. And he said he hasn't reaffirmed it because we have not interviewed him yet. that he believes that the monitor was some sort of like a vibratory device, that these beans give off a vibration, and that the bizarre monitor next to the bean, the thing that started my whole investigation off, was not so much for a respiratory breathing monitoring, but like a vibratory monitoring of the bean. I'm just telling you what he said. But he was very moved when he saw the bean. Another thing, Bob Dean. What did Bob Dean say when he first saw the bean? You've got one of the little guys. We all have an inner dictionary, according to my new lie detection person. We all have an inner dictionary. So we all come up with things that we use that maybe somebody else might use. The three of four of us could see the bumper of a car. Somebody could call it a bumper. Somebody could call it a tailgate. Somebody could, we all have the inner dictionary. And it was interesting that Bob Dean's inner dictionary snapped into attention like he had seen this before, gave it his own nomenclature, and said, "Oh, you've got one of the little ones." I thought that was very interesting. Can I also tell you before we leave about our newest lie detection person that I am begging to look at the entire Victor saga? I forget the words. One of them was reticence and one was something else. But he said, because he thinks Bob Lazar lied about much of his testimony, he said he thinks Bob Lazar lied about the craft because he called it 5 different things: the saucer, the UFO, the thing, the
Jello mold.
the saucer craft, the UFO, the ship. He called it 5 different things. He said the lie detection expert said that is a hallmark of a liar, where he said Victor in the three broadcast in the 9-minute. I'm sorry, he did not see the 2 others. Simply refers to the ET as alien or being, over and over again, alien or being, not ET, not the visitor, not the perpetrator, alien being. He found that very, very pointing towards a lie, someone that is telling the truth. Another thing he said, Victor is not reticent. Victor, and it's amazing when I went back to listen. Victor uses, it's possible, maybe, I don't know. And he said, liars speaking, yes, definite. It is. I know. He said, I can't believe it myself, but Victor is so, he uses, I don't know, maybe, possibly. He's like, a liar does not use that vernacular.
Makes sense that
This
because
is
if you're lying about
This
something,
is only on the 9 minutes, of the video. So
if you're lying about something, you're either trying to convince somebody or
that's
defend your
correct.
argument. So yeah,
That's
it makes
correct.
sense.
And he said, liars don't say maybe, I don't know. And I look back at my podcast, like Doty, I had to bring him into the conversation. When you're saying I don't know 50 times in an hour.
Question for you, John, from Terrestrial Material. John, have you had any pushback from the government in this process, or are you just rolling along?
You obviously haven't listened to other podcasts. Yes. So I've had 11 FOIA requests. The scariest one was the Defense Intelligence Agency. I called, his name was Andrew, because you have to give names to the keyboard warriors. His name was Andrew at the Defense Intelligence Agency. Very nice young man. He said, Mr. Stewart, I see your name on our computer without a file attached to it. So what? He said that can't happen. You have to get on this computer only if you have a file request to it. I'm like, so Andrew, what exactly are you telling me? He's like, well, someone had to remove your file, but left your name. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, well, I've never seen that happen. 2 hours later, I get the phone call, Andrew at DIA. It's this. Yeah. Yes. Mr. Stewart. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Got it? Okay. Total brick. They send me a letter that says, because of the nature of your request, we will have to perform interagency meetings and cross-agency communication to decipher the blah, blah, blah of your request. Okay. So somebody pulled my file off of DIA. Why? Holden from the National Air and Space Intelligence Center at Wright Pat, when I sent them the questions to appear in my documentary, comes back 4 months later after ghosting me with a cease and desist Do not call me. Do not write me. I am never to call or talk to you again. Destroy all of our communications. A higher up at the Pentagon has notified me to notify you. You are on a special watch list because of your FOIA request, the nature of your questions to Wright-Patterson National Air and Space Center, Intelligence Center, and the your overseas emails. So the Pentagon, according to this guy, has put me on a special watch list. Number 3, my emails missing from my iPhone 2 occasions, and other 2 iPhone disturbances that no one can explain. And folks, listen to me carefully, because Apple Corporation can't explain it, nor can any hacker or the FBI. 4 different email platforms on my iPhone all had the read but not deleted emails swiped. To AOL, iCloud, and Gmail. And Apple went, when they heard about the 4 different platforms, went, quote, "I've never seen that before." I asked the Russian hacker in Chicago, who could have done this? He said, "My friend," I'm imitating, this is not how he sounds. "Only 2 G's, 2 G's." I said, 2 G's. 2 G's could have done this to your phone. I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "This G, God, or the government."
Yeah.
Stories. Okay. I don't know. Is that all true? I don't know. Tell me. Sounds great. When the DIA FOIA request department tells you he's never seen this before, when Apple tells you we've never seen this before, be scared.
Yeah, iPhones. I used to deal with phones years ago. iPhones are like, they're hard ones to crack, very hard.
Not for
And
the
then
NSA.
PBS comes out with the Pegasus program, the Israeli software, where it gets onto your phone, you don't even know it's there, you're screwed. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. I know something's going on. And I know when you touch a third rail and piss a segment of people off. I have touched the third rail. I am simply asking your viewers, what do you think the third rail is? The alien phenomenon? There's 10 million people researching it. What did I find out that has pissed off and alerted people to the government to steal my emails, to wipe files off the DIA, to tell us an agent of the National Air and Space Intelligence Center I'm on a Pentagon watch list? What? What is a 56-year-old retired car dealer? What have I done?
You know
That's
what
for
I
you
think
to
it is?
decide.
You know what I think it is, John?
I'm listening.
I don't think that it is the image of the alien. Let's say it is 100% legit. I don't think it's the alien they're upset about being out, 'cause
I
it's
don't
been out
either.
forever. They haven't
No, right.
removed it. You know what nobody talks about? The message that the alien was saying. The things it was talking about. Nobody likes that, because when you start looking into it, you start finding out the things that were also coming out, that the Victor was also alleging the things that it was saying.
Correct.
And the narrative is always driven towards that this is fake, or it's a puppet, or this or that.
Of course.
Okay, that's a discussion. Let's also have a discussion about what its message was. What was the conversations it was having? What information was going back and forth?
Right.
And the only people I've even seen approach that would be, again, Tucker Carlson on different programs and a few other people. And they don't even really like to get into it because, again, it is a very strange message.
Right.
Yeah.
I've been told that by the more than one people. There is a heavy religious contingent at the Pentagon that is very, very worried about the true nature of these beings. I'll leave it at that. I'm not divulging anything, but there's a contingent at the Pentagon that is very spiritual, very religious, and very worried about the true nature of these beings. Has been communicated to me by more than one person. So take that as you wish. It's all weird. It's all scary.
It's all
Hopefully
weird.
there will be a resolution of all of this. I pray to God. I never rail against the military. I'm a champion of the military. I was one of 3 people. I'm bragging right now. I'm one of 3 people that helped keep the North Chicago Veterans Association Hospital open and stopped closure. And 4 years later, $130 million Captain James Lovell Medical Facility was built. I was one of the progenitors. My godfather died in Vietnam. I respect the military. I love what, I'm not going to be in a bunker in the desert with an M16, and God help and thank God there are people that do that, but it's over. We have to come out to some degree and with the American people. And I don't think it's going to be as alarming as people think, because we care more about the Kardashians and Wheel of Fortune than we do anything else. So the government is one. They've desensitized us. I don't think we need to know everything, but we at least they have some confirmation and let us all move on. I think it'll pull the country together, because, and I hope the government is listening to me, because if you don't choose that line and direction that I'm talking about, you are then might be falling possibly susceptible of the underserved and the underprivileged in this country. I'm one of them that is going to wake up one day and realize you've spent $3 to $7 trillion on building replica alien spacecrafts and never letting us get inside, and examining alien tissue, but never giving those advancements to science. And when they wake up, knowing that they could have had daycare, they could have had better schools, they could have had their bridges fixed, they could have had after school programs. We could have had a utopia with that money, that you've spent it hiding aliens and extraterrestrials from us. It's going to be a bloodless revolution, but they're not coming to my house. They're going to come to your house. Remember that. I'm not threatening. Just think about it. Choose the other way, the other path. Soft disclosure. Keep it light and simple. We'll forgive everybody. We'll forgive the murders, the illegal money, and we're going to move on as a country.
John, you mentioned this. There was another video at the beginning. There's another angle, apparently.
And the follow-up DIA memo was more information, and this will be shown in the documentary, that there was a second film that was part of a much broader film that was shown to military intelligence insiders and people in the program. And that portion was 56 minutes long. How the hell did this guy know, this tech guru know, another film was out there that was under 56 minutes? I don't think I've ever talked about that. So again, strangeness. Again, talking about another angle of the same alien. He told me on Zoom, I saw your alien. The lighting was different. Of course it was. The original Victor VHS was bluish. It was different lighting. Rocket Pictures darkened it. So this guy is again telling even more truth, that he saw what Victor produced. And it's on the documentary, about 5 seconds of this bluish hue of the alien in a bluish hue light. That's what this man saw. So he wasn't lying about a different light. Same alien, different light, wider angle, different angle, more men in the room. Boing, 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 boing. Checked all the boxes. How did that happen? I have no idea.
John,
and remember, I know my main leaker. I know who he is. I will never divulge his name until he has passed away, just like Deep Throat and Mark Feld of the FBI and Watergate. I will never divulge who he is ever. I know who he is, and it ain't a French-born French-born black Sid tech guru who lives in Senegal who's 40 years old. So how did he know all of this?
It's a good question. I hope you get the funding and backing to continue with your project out of Hollywood.
We will.
I look forward to seeing it happen. I think that's a pretty good spot to run it, man. I've looked forward to this for weeks since we got you booked on. I've been pumped.
Yeah, it is sitting right now, just to let people know. I know for 4 years I've been teasing this, but because this is what I was told. I didn't know it was going to take this long. It is sitting right now on the desk of the president of unscripted television of a network right now. I mean, he's on board. He just wants to know how he can position it, his words, in the programming, what legal statute. We're going to start revealing, names of naval people, and I could be a little hairy legally. I don't know, maybe not, or just privacy wise.
Hey man, just set the forest on fire, see what happens.
Yeah. So it's on a network executive's desk. So let's keep our fingers crossed.
I'm excited to see it. Yep, definitely.
Well, thanks for coming on, man. And to all our listeners, buy a t-shirt, like, share, subscribe. Check us out.
Please support this channel, folks. Being a content creator that we all enjoy, me included. that costs money and time. And if we don't support people like the Alien Attic and all the great work they do, and I mean that sincerely, well, then they're going to vanish, and then we'll have nobody making content. So you have to support channels like this. So donate, buy T-shirts, buy coffee mugs, and support these guys. I'm asking you.
I appreciate it.
Cheers, buddy. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Good night.
Have a great day. Good night. Thank you. Thank you all to your viewers and listeners for giving me the time to talk to you again.
Chill out, Ollie.
Technical.
This is not a joke. This is not a hoax. Certainly I'm staking my reputation on it. If an anonymous individual in a rubber mask could be said to be staking his reputation on anything, I challenge these ufologists to debunk me, discover my identity. If they really believe that the alien interview footage is a hoax, prove it. Show where it was faked. If they believe that the alien in that footage is a puppet, prove it. Find the puppet maker. If they believe that I am a hoaxer, prove it. Discover my real identity. It certainly doesn't matter to me at this point.
Do I fear for my safety? Well, I could tell you this, and this is a snapshot of the film that was smuggled in 1991 out of a facility just south of Area 51. If I am truly in danger, that means that this film and this being is real, and God help me. But if I'm truly in danger and this being is real, that means the extraterrestrial program is also real. And I say, God help us all.
Just so everyone knows, we are making sweatshirts available. Go to the store and check them out.
Yeah,
Buy all of them.
Buy all of them. Hell yeah. Oh, we need to get a PayPal set up because Moody keeps saying we need a PayPal.
Also, somebody said in the comments, I'm not saying it's demons, but it's demons.
100%. 100%.
I also think that might have to be on a t-shirt at some point.
Oh my God. Yes. Oh, that should be the next one released. That was
Thank
good.
you, comment man.
Yes. I'm not saying it's demons, but it's demons.